walk through a virtual public meeting workshop platform that will be live for the next 30 days, where you can look through interactive information. You can provide your feedback via surveys as well as interactive mapping exercises. You can learn more information about our planning team, and you can get contact information if you would like for us to reach back out to you. So I am going to go through the presentation slide deck. I'm going to pass it off to our various panel members so that they can walk you through the various details and bells and whistles that our online platform has to offer. And then we'll take a brief recess where you all can chat with us. You can ask us questions. You can provide written comment on both Facebook, YouTube, as well as on our Zoom meeting platform. For those of you who are out there on Facebook and YouTube, the link for our Zoom meeting has been provided. If you would like to engage with us interactively and talk with us, please feel free to join us at any time. This is drop-in format, so if you miss the beginning, you're going to get us on a loop after about 30 minutes. So if you want to see the beginning, you can dial back in about 30 minutes on the hour. So without any further ado, I'm going to go through the presentation slide deck, and then you're going to get to hear from Vishanya and Justin and a little bit of information about what's been going on with Albany Transit from Gwendolyn. So the 2020 Albany Transit Development Plan. Our presentation is going to share with you a little bit more information about what a transit development plan is and why it's required, the Albany Transit Study and System Overview, and opportunities for participation. So what is a TDP, or Transit Development Plan? A TDP is a strategic planning document that defines public transit needs, solicits broad input, involves substantial public participation, explores community goals with decision makers and stakeholders, defines alternative courses of action, and develops a systematic plan and monitoring program. The TDP is a prerequisite to the receipt of federal and state transit funding, which is a very important funding source for Albany Transit. And it does include a fiscally constrained 5-year work program for your short-range implementation efforts, as well as a 10-year long-range improvements plan for those larger projects that take a little bit more time and resources to complete. Albany Transit last completed a TDP update in 2015, and that plan includes system and service performance data, community information such as population, employment, and demographics of the population and employment factors, funding projections for 5-year and 10-year plans, transit system, service, and policy recommendations, and results of public and stakeholder engagement efforts. There are also implementation timelines and strategies to help move from the planning process into actual implementation. You can view the full 2015 report at www.albanyga.gov. And you can see a print copy of the TDP at the Albany Transit Center. This is a transit development plan study overview. You can see the gray box surrounding all of our various tasks and activities says stakeholder and public engagement because it's an ongoing process. There will be key opportunities such as the You Are Here box during data collection and assessment to have things like public workshops and online meeting platforms to provide very specific information, but there will be other opportunities for ongoing dialogue as well as additional opportunities for workshops as we move through the process. So the project initiation began with the formation of a stakeholders advisory committee, as well as the development of a project management plan and a project participation plan. We've completed the data collection and are nearly concluding our assessment of the service. We're hoping that you all will help us by providing us with surveys so that we can get input and information from the current riders and potential riders in your community. We've also looked at financial data and developed a study area profile to better understand what's going on with businesses, where people are living, where people are taking trips currently, and where we're really missing those opportunities. We look at identification and determination of demand. So where do we see population concentrations in areas where services are being provided and there are no connections between those? And identifying densities of people and jobs where public transportation such as fixed route transit may be a good opportunity. So identifying those service options and then forming those into organization assessments and recommendations, and then synthesizing a plan or a document to move those forward towards implementation. Those recommendations are then reviewed by the public as well as stakeholders and oversight agencies, and final reports and presentations are developed. The project began in June. Again, we just concluded the data collection and are working through evaluation and analysis, which is scheduled to be completed in November. Concurrently, we're conducting demand assessment. Again, that's looking for those concentrations of people, jobs, and destinations to really identify where service is most appropriate and perhaps not currently being provided. That will help us develop a number of alternatives that then will end in a preferred alternative. That preferred alternative is then again vetted by public and stakeholders, and then the ultimate plan or document report is adopted in February of 2021. There will be additional opportunities for public feedback, and you can see you are currently here at the Green Star in October. So just a little bit about the Albany Transit System. Albany Transit operates as a department of the City of Albany. You currently have 13 fixed bus routes as well as paratransit service for eligible disabled passengers. The service operates 6 days per week, which is Monday through Saturday, and base fare is $1.70 with transfers. There have been some recent improvements and updates to the Albany Transit System, including bus stop improvements, where you can see in these images the rebranding that included bus stop identification signage as well as improved shelters, new compressed natural gas fuel efficient buses, as well as compressed natural gas fueling stations and maintenance facility, and the ongoing design of the new transfer facility. The TDP will build on regional transportation planning that was recently concluded. The long-range transportation plan or metropolitan transportation plan that was recently conducted by the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, included extensive public outreach and a multimodal view. Their survey included questions that would help inform this process. One example of that is a question that says, if you rarely bike, walk, or use public transit, please choose all the reasons that apply. So you can see this category is including those for bicycling, walking, and the last transit. So if you see the red indicator arrows, the highest response rate for why don't you frequently use transit is travel time. So that gives our team the opportunity to look for areas where we could identify travel time deficiencies and improve that. So that feedback is key and important for us to identify why we don't have higher ridership in certain areas and where we can make those very important improvements to better serve the public in Albany. It is an informed planning approach. This TDP will explore areas for service expansion, service improvements for existing routes, bus stop improvement priorities, transit-oriented development, which is really looking at land use and how your community and city is developing, and where there's opportunities for transit and that land use development to really serve one another so that you can have high enough densities so that the riders for the system are essentially built into your city and community. So you can have a more efficient system and less vehicle dependency. So they really work hand in hand to have a more healthy system for both sides of that. And then bus rapid transit or BRT Lite, which is an enhanced form of transit, technology and infrastructure investments, ADA paratransit service operations, and the impacts of COVID-19 on service and funding. Participation in this workshop will help us to perhaps expand on this list if you have any ideas of areas where we need to be analyzing opportunities for Albany Transit. So how do you get involved to help us expand on that list or provide us with your feedback as a rider or potential rider? Attend public workshops like this one where you can talk with us, you can write comments in the chat box, or just learn about the system and the service. Provide your feedback through surveys. We love written comment because that gives us the opportunity to analyze it and document it, but we also love having conversations with you about what's working well and what we could improve on. Please take the online survey. We have it in both English and in Spanish. You'll see more of that on our digital platform. And then learn about the TDP process. What's important about it? Why is this an opportunity for our system? And share that information with others. The more information that gets out into the community, the more feedback we're going to get and the better results the TDP will have. So please explore our interactive stations. We're going to show you what all we have to offer in our virtual meeting platform. The first station is the presentation station. So you are there now. This is the presentation slide deck. Each of our stations includes an avatar so that you can learn more about the team members who are well-versed in the information and have provided critical feedback and done the legwork to develop those very important tools for you all to provide that feedback to us. At station number 2, you will be provided with the opportunity to respond to an online survey. It takes about 10 minutes to complete. We have that in both English and in Spanish, and we have project fact sheets in both English and in Spanish in that station as well. You have a large format project schedule. If you really just want to see when things are happening, that will continue to be updated as we get more tangible dates, such as the second round of public workshops. System Performance Report is an interactive online tool that shows you how the system is currently operating on a 3-year time frame, and then breaks that information down route by route. So you can really see which of your routes are most healthy, which of those have lower ridership, where we maybe need to see some adjustments in the future. And then we also have an interactive comment map where you can drop specific information at the route level, at the stop level, or you can design your own route. Or place a stop in an area where perhaps one doesn't exist. And that helps us to understand your needs and gives us yet another layer to analyze while we're coming up with those key alternatives. We have general information about the transit development plan and our Albany Transit representative, Gwendolyn McDaniels, to talk about the goals and objectives for your system. And then a comment form, which is just a general place for you to air your concerns or share areas of the system that you would hate to see changed because they're working well. Perhaps you don't want to take the survey or you don't feel comfortable with the interactive mapping exercise. This is your opportunity to just share your input. You also have the opportunity at that location to provide your contact information and tell us whether or not you would like to be contacted. So if you want to continue that dialogue, and make sure that you're speaking with a person, that tells us that we need to give you a call back. So we really appreciate you joining us today. Again, my name is Rachel Hatcher. I'm the project manager from the consulting side of the house. If you're just joining us, we also have Gwendolyn McDaniel from Albany Transit, Vishanya Forbes from RS&H, the consulting team, and Justin Damons from RS&H, the consulting team, and all of our IT folks in the background. Thank you for all you do to make all of this possible in this bizarre and wonderful virtual environment that COVID has made available for us. So without further ado, I'm going to minimize our presentation and I'm going to walk you through our virtual meeting platform. Again, this will be live for a 30-day period, so until November 22nd. And you can pan in the room and see all of the different opportunities for participation and feedback. You're starting at station 1 as described in our presentation slide deck. If you select this click to start, it actually takes you back through those presentation slides and has voiceover so that you can sit back and listen to it again at your leisure. And if you click on any of these little blue icons, it pops up and tells you more about the individual consulting team members as well as your Albany Transit team members that are participating in this effort. So I'm going to slowly pan to each of these stations and show you how you access the information at station number 2. This is your survey and fact sheet station. So if you click on the little blue icon here, it'll take you to the Albany TDP fact sheet where you can learn more about what the Albany TDP is. It provides you with that overview of our process, a snapshot of the system, our project schedule, and then how you can be involved in Gwendolyn McDaniel's contact information so that if you want to speak to a human, you want to provide some feedback, she's always available to help you with that, and she can get your comments to us and make sure that we can get back to you. You can also access the online survey by clicking on the computer links. This is available in English and in Spanish. So the icon on the left is your English version. The icon on the right is your Spanish version. This takes, again, approximately 10 minutes to complete. We highly encourage you all to participate in this. We've already received some responses. We're really excited to get that number up. The more responses we get, the better statistically it is to demonstrate the needs of the community. Our next station includes just a large format of that schedule in case you wanted to spend some time really analyzing when things are going to occur. And again, you are here in the little green star in October for our first round of public input. And now that we've panned over to our Albany Transit Route operational analysis, I'm going to turn the mic over to Vishanya Forbes, and she's going to walk you through the data as well as specific information at the route level. So Vishanya, I'm going to let you share your screen and walk our participants through what that station has to offer.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we all set?
Yes, we see your screen.
So welcome to everyone joining us on the Zoom platform as well as Facebook Live and YouTube. So as Rachel mentioned, this station provides you with the overview of the existing system at the route level, as well as the overall Albany Transit system level. So in this platform, you can navigate based on the topic that you're interested in. If you just wanted to skip straight to the statistics on the fixed route ridership, you could just do that and it will jump right into that stats. If you wanted to go to transit propensity, so you can navigate using the title bars at the beginning of your profile. Sorry about that. So we're going to start with the overall annual ridership trends that we observed with the initial analysis that was conducted. So upon our initial analysis, we realized that transit ridership is on the decline for Albany Transit. And this graphic on your left shows you the comparison of annual ridership from fiscal year 2018 through the last fiscal year, which was fiscal year 2020. And this statistics indicate that even though there is a 25% decrease in ridership from 2020 to 2019, that was in part of the COVID pandemic that started exhibiting its effect in February. So we are aware of that and we are documenting that in our process as we work through the analysis for the overall system. So it does show, however, that Albany Transit did record 12,629 less trips in 2019 versus the ridership that was documented for fiscal year 2018. And we do that for fixed route as well as for the paratransit or the demand response service. So it does show where the ridership in fiscal year 2018 was actually lower, and they did see overall 30% increase in ridership in fiscal year 2019. And again, the decrease that we're now observing is as a result of the COVID pandemic. This graphic on your left shows you the months within the year that Albany Transit observed its highest ridership. So it's indicated that August, September, and October are the 3 months where ridership is at the peak in Albany Transit. And then this is just a blurb about, what is observed, and then based on schools and summer holidays, how that ridership number decreases for us. And then as you scroll and navigate through this platform, it gives you the overall statistics of each route that Albany Transit provides service on. So if you navigate down, it will pop up with Route 1, where you can get additional information about the areas within Albany that this route services. If you want to zoom in on the actual route map and see exactly where the service is provided, where individual bus stops are located, then you can view that, and then it shows you where the transit, the multimodal transit center is and how that route loops in and get back to that drop off. And then if you go all the way down, it will also show you that on this particular route, annual ridership is actually down 35% from fiscal year 2018 through 2020. And then that you can navigate for each route. And then on this one, you can see that ridership is actually up 4% in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we can go through that for all 13 routes that Albany Transit do provide service on. Okay, and then this graphic here shows you the overall coverage of the system. So it gives you like a layout of where service is actually available currently within Albany. So you can navigate based on the red line, Route 2, or Route 3, the orange line, all the way down to the university routes. And then this gives you an overview of our transit propensity analysis that was conducted. So during the development of the TDP, we actually go in and we use US Census data to provide us with a better understanding of where exactly are the demographics or the population located that people will actually use this transit service that Albany Transit is providing. And so we take demographic groups like people who are workers with disability, minority population, females, low-income households, or households that have zero vehicle units, and we put that into our visualization tool, and then we generate this map or graphic that shows, okay, this has a high density of transit propensity, so likelihood that people that are located here will be more inclined to use in transit service, and so putting a route in this location would be feasible for Albany Transit. And you can navigate back to the top. So this is a very user-friendly tool that provides you with just the overall trends and analysis that we have seen from our work. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So feel free to leave a comment on Facebook or YouTube or in our Zoom chat box, and we'll get back to you. I'm going to turn this over to Rachel, and then she'll navigate you through the rest of our presentation.
Great, thank you, Vishania. So I'm going to share my screen again, and then I'm going to allow Justin to walk you through the next interactive opportunity. I'm going to select it and show you just a little bit about it, and then turn the mic over to Justin to walk you through exactly how to use it. So this is an interactive bus stop and route map where you can pan in and provide your specific point information about bus stops, existing or some that perhaps you think should be implemented. You can also provide feedback at the route level for existing routes, or you can draw your own. Perhaps you have an idea of an alteration to an existing system route or a new route altogether. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand it over to Justin, and he's actually going to walk you through how to drop a stop in there or how to provide a comment on a stop, and the same for the routes, so that you can have a full-fledged tutorial on how to use it. All right, Justin, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to turn the reins over to you and let you show everyone how to use this really exciting interactive mapping tool.
All right, thank you, Rachel. So the interactive map, there's a number of features that it has. Can you all see my screen? Okay, so there's a number of features that this map has. So it has the ability to not only comment on existing bus stops. So here's a list of all the bus stops by name, but if you're better at kind of zooming to where your bus stop normally is, you can click on a bus stop, it tells you the name, and then you can fill out this comment section about and explain what issues you're having with this stop. For example, this stop has no connecting sidewalk, there's issues with safety and security, or other, where you can kind of fill in your own personal comment. You think this bus stop, it needs lights because you catch the bus first thing in the morning and it's kind of hard for buses and bus drivers to see you at this stop. You can also create a new bus stop. So let's say if you're kind of in this area and you would like a bus stop between these two places because it's kind of far. If you're in this business, walking to that stop or this stop, you can click on the map to add a bus stop, explain why you think you should add this bus stop. And if you like, you can submit your email address and somebody from the ATS planning team will be able to contact you regarding the whole TDP as well as this interactive map. If you click on the second tab, it kind of explains all of the buttons on the side so you can zoom in for their home view so you can see the full map, zoom out your current location if you're currently in the city of Albany, and you can use your web browser or monitor to pinpoint your exact location. If you want to search for a place, you're not sure of where it's at on the map, but you know the address, you can type in an address, as well as the legend. And if you want to change the base map, for example, if you're used to seeing a map with a different view, for example, like Google, let's say OpenStreetMap, we're used to seeing a map like this, you can change the base map as well. And if you have any questions about how to use this, there is an interactive map tutorial that kind of walks you through how to place a stop or create a new bus route. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel. And if anyone has any questions about using this map tool, feel free to hit us in the chat box on Zoom, on Facebook, or on YouTube Live.
Great, thank you, Justin. That was excellent. Okay, so our remaining two stations are general information station. Again, we've got Miss Gwendolyn McDaniel. She's your customer service manager and planner for Albany Transit. She's a great point of contact for you all. We are all accessible to you through Gwendolyn, and she's a wealth of resource and information and happy to field your questions and comments. We would love to hear about your goals and objectives for the system. So Gwendolyn is going to be your best resource for that. And at your last station, you can provide your general feedback. So perhaps you don't feel comfortable interacting with a drop point and draw your line comment system through our interactive map. Perhaps you don't feel like taking a survey. We understand. So we have provided you with one last opportunity, and that is to just provide general written comment. So that could be, I have a concern about something, or I think this element of Albany Transit is fantastic, and I don't want anything to change about it. That's equally important to us to make sure that in making a change, we don't compromise something that's working very well for you. Or you can just ask general questions. So you can just use this opportunity to interact with us. You can provide your contact information, and you can select whether or not you would like for one of our team members to reach back out to you and provide you with a response, or just continue that dialogue to share with you what we know about the topic that you had a question about, or to just give you an opportunity to further explain your comments. So without any further ado, we are back to station number 1. That is our virtual meeting platform. We are available for the next hour to provide any responses to questions you might have. You can throw those again, as Justin said, in the chat box. You can place those on Facebook, YouTube Live, and we will be responding to those live here. These are recorded meetings, so you can go back anytime. You can revisit this information, and we do hope that you'll go onto our virtual meeting platform, that you'll become familiar with the information, interact with our interactive stations, and share this information with others. The more people that provide us with feedback, the better the results of the study, because at the end of the day, this is for you all as a community to improve your system and have it better serve you as current riders or potential riders of the Albany Transit System. So we're going to take just a very brief break. That was our 30-minute marker, and then we are going to start back on our next loop. Again, this is drop-in format. So if you missed anything in the first 30-minute session, we're going to do it all again, and we're going to do it 2 more times after that. So you have many opportunities to drop in and join us. Please share with others what you learned today, and we will hope to see you soon.
Hey, Rachel. Gwendolyn, can someone reach out to the IT department, because we're not currently live on Facebook or YouTube? You're muted, Rachel. Say that again.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Thank you, Gwendolyn.
Okay.
All right, everyone, we're going to get going again on our next run through. We've committed to running through our presentation and walking folks through our virtual meeting platform once every 30 minutes. So we wanted to give everyone the opportunity to drop into our virtual meeting platform for the Albany Transit Development Plan 2020 workshop. So my name is Rachel Hatcher. I'm your consultant project manager for your 2020 TDP update. With me today, we have Gwendolyn McDaniel from Albany Transit. We also have Vishania Forbes from RSNH, part of the consulting team, and Justin Damons, RSNH, also part of our consulting team, and all of our IT folks in the background helping us out to make sure we all stay on track today. So I'm going to walk you through a brief presentation slide deck about the TDP, give you a little bit more information about what the plan is about, what we're here to do, and what your opportunities are for public feedback. So the presentation, again, is going to provide you with a deeper dive on what a TDP is and why we're doing it, what the requirements are for a TDP. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Albany Transit Study and provide a system overview, and then talk about your opportunities for participation in this process and how you can get involved and provide us with that valuable feedback. So what is a Transit Development Plan, or TDP? A TDP is a strategic planning document that defines public transit needs, solicits broad input, involves substantial public participation, explores community goals with decision makers and stakeholders, defines alternative courses of action, and develops a systematic plan and monitoring program. A TDP is a prerequisite to the receipt of federal and state funding, which is a very important funding source for the Albany transit system. And it does include a financially constrained 5-year work program and a 10-year long-range improvements plan. Albany Transit last completed a TDP update in 2015, and that plan included system and service performance data, community, population, employment, and demographic data, funding projections for 5-year and 10-year plans, transit system service and policy recommendations, results of public and stakeholder engagement efforts like what we're doing today, and implementation timelines and strategies. You can view that full 2015 TDP report at www.albanyga.gov. So a little bit more about the TDP planning process. You can see we began here with project initiation, with the formation of a stakeholder advisory committee, as well as the development of a detailed public participation plan so that we could determine how best to have already started receiving responses from, financial performance data, and then a study area profile. Where are people living? Where are they working? Where are they currently making trips? And where do we need to make those key connections? We also will look at demand and determine where we are currently not providing enough service or not providing service at all, where there are concentrations of population and households that are trying to get to services, jobs, and goods, and then determining whether or not there's enough people, enough jobs, enough potential for transit to be the solution. And then identify those service options. Those will be organized into an assessment and then ultimately recommendations that are formed into a plan. That plan will then be reviewed by our stakeholders, oversight agencies such as Federal Transit Administration and DOT, and then you all as the public. That will form our final recommendations, which will be drafted into reports, and then final reports and presentations will be made. You can see the gray box surrounding all of these activities indicating that public and stakeholder engagement is ongoing. There will be key opportunities for feedback like today, but that dialogue box is always open and there are always opportunities for you to get engaged and to help us get more meaningful information about how transit could better serve the community in Albany. Our study began in June of 2020. You can see data collection has concluded and evaluation and analysis is ongoing. So your feedback is a really critical part to that to help us also with demand estimation that's done concurrently. We will develop alternatives that have various solutions and opportunities to the needs that we see as a result of our analysis as well as your feedback, which will then be used to develop what is called the preferred alternative. That preferred alternative then gets formed into a 5-year action plan that is constrained to the amount of money you'll expect to have in that 5-year time frame, and a 10-year horizon plan that really looks at the long-term investments of the system so that the action items can start to work towards that next 5-year implementation plan. We'll have ongoing public and stakeholder engagement. You can see here in the green star, you're in October. There will be another opportunity like this for feedback once those recommendations have been developed. And then plan development is ongoing from start to finish through the process with adoption slated for February of 2021. Just a little bit about your current system. Albany Transit functions as a department of the City of Albany. You have 13 fixed bus routes and a paratransit service for eligible disabled passengers that's point to point, meaning you make a telephone call on a reservation, you're picked up at your home location and dropped off at your destination. The system operates 6 days per week, Monday through Saturday, and base fare is $1.70 with transfers. Since the last TDP update in 2015, there have been some modifications and updates to the system. including bus stop improvements that were rolled out with the rebranding. That also includes enhanced shelters, new compressed natural gas fuel efficient vehicles, buses, new CNG fueling station and maintenance facility, and the ongoing design of the new transfer facility. Our study builds on other planning efforts that have been conducted for your community, including the Long Range Transportation Plan, or DART's 2045 MTP. And outreach was a significant portion of that study as well. And it was multimodal in nature. So they were asking questions not only about single occupancy vehicles, but also looking at all modes such as bicycle, pedestrian, and transit. So one of their survey questions said, if you rarely bike or walk or use public transit, please tell us why. And these categories in the graphic on the screen demonstrate what those response rates were for each of those modes. So for example, for the public transit responses, the red arrow indicates that that purple bar, the highest response rate, said that 41.67% of respondents said they rarely use public transit because of travel time. So that's a really important indicator to our team to look at travel times for the overarching system and see where improvements and enhancements could be made to make it a more viable transportation option for the traveling public in Albany. So your feedback really does make a difference. This is an informed planning approach. The TDP will explore areas for service expansion, service improvements for existing routes, bus stop improvement priorities, transit-oriented development, which really is a land use component where you say, where do we see opportunities for revitalization or development where we can have high enough densities of households to support transit and then have enhanced forms of transit such as bus rapid transit or BRT Light to help spur that development. So they work hand in hand to provide a good and viable transportation option for these new developments or revitalized developments and spur the economy to then further help pay for those improvements. So they really do work very well together to have the land use component and the transportation component being designed and materialized together. We also
before you continue, could you reshare your screen? The folks on Facebook and YouTube are not seeing your screen.
Yes, I will. Thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, is that better? Put out an all call to our folks. Thank you for you all on Facebook and YouTube. My apologies for the technical difficulties. So we'll keep going and y'all keep shouting out and send us messages if you are not receiving the information. So we'll be looking at technology and infrastructure investments. A good example of that is our bus stop improvement priorities. Where do we need perhaps sidewalks? Where do we need lighting? Where do we need supportive infrastructure to help you all better utilize the transit system? We'll be looking at ADA paratransit service operations. There's been a significant uptick in paratransit ridership in the last year timeframe. So really looking at how to optimize that system to best serve those disabled passengers. And then, of course, looking at the impacts of COVID-19 on your existing service, ridership impacts, and how that impacts your funding and your opportunities for enhancing your system moving forward. And for your participation in our workshop and your feedback will help expand on this list. Perhaps there's an area where you've seen opportunities in other communities and you would like to see us assess that for your transit system. So how do you get involved? How do you get that information to us so that we can incorporate it in our process? By attending our public workshops. This is your opportunity to talk to us directly, as well as to learn more about the TDP process, the system, and how you can provide that feedback. Take the online survey. That's a concise, very easy, very quick exercise that helps us to get information to make decisions about what changes are appropriate for your system and what changes are not. Learn about the TDP process. Learn more about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then share that information with others so that they feel informed, they feel empowered, and they can give us meaningful feedback that we can make into actionable recommendations. So in addition to the presentation to share information with you, we want to hear from you. So we have interactive stations on an online virtual meeting platform. The station that you are hearing and engaging with now is the station number 1, presentation slides. So if you are in our virtual online meeting platform, which you can access on Albany Transit's website, you will hear this presentation again. You'll see the same slide deck. You'll hear a voiceover so that you can absorb it, you can share it, and then go back through that information if there was anything that you missed. Our next station is where you can view the online survey and take the online survey both in English and in Spanish, as well as access the project fact sheet both in English and in Spanish. And that just provides you with an overview of the process, all of the information you received in the presentation, but in print format. As at the next station, station number 3, you can see a large format blow up of our schedule. So if you wanted to see more about when things are happening, when your opportunities for feedback are going to occur, the project schedule station is the one for you. We also have a system performance report. If you say, how is Route 1 doing? That's my route. I'd like to see what the ridership is. I'd like to see if it's a healthy route or one that's likely to change if I don't speak up. So that's a really great opportunity for you to go route by route and then look at the system as a whole and see, how is it doing? How are we performing currently? The next station is an interactive comment map where you can zoom into an area. You can click on an existing stop and provide comment about what you like or don't like about that stop. You can drop a new stop in as a proposed location that we can then analyze as part of our process. You can also look at the system routing. So you can say Route 1 should really be drawn like this and draw your own route. Or you can select an existing route and provide us comments about it there as well. So you can say, I like the way that this is routed, but it's not frequent enough. It needs to come every 30 minutes and not every hour. That information is very helpful for us to help prioritize what investments the public really values versus those that we see from a data-driven analysis. The next station is Gwendolyn McDaniel's station, where we have goals and objectives and just general information about the process. And the last is a comment form where you can just provide general comments, both in English and in Spanish. That form allows you to share things that you think are going very well for the system and that you would not like to see changed. You can provide comments about things that you don't like about the system. You can provide concerns. You can just ask for someone to call you back. So that's your opportunity to share with us something that perhaps you didn't want to say in person. You wanted to make sure that you had it written down. Written comments are always wonderful. They help us to document what we need to do as part of this process. So we thank you for tuning in with us today. For those of you on Facebook Live and YouTube, this has been an excellent experience for us, being able to reach out to the community during these difficult times of social distancing. We hope that you'll continue to join back in with us through our virtual meeting platform. And we are now going to go through the virtual meeting to show you all of your opportunities for feedback as we discussed in the presentation slide deck. And our panelists, our team, are going to walk you through the individual exercises to show you and give you tutorial on what you can do with them and how you can provide your feedback. So I'm going to minimize this slide deck, and now we're in our virtual meeting platform. So again, as described in our slide, this is your station number 1. If you click on these little blue icons, additional information about that team member that's working on the TDP for you pops up. You can see our information, what our role is in the process. And if you have concerns or questions and you want to speak directly to that person, that gives you that resource to be able to say, Gwendolyn, I would really like for Rachel to call me back. Or Gwendolyn, I see that Vishanya was heavily involved in data analysis. I would really like for her to call me back. So that puts a little face with the information so you know who you're speaking with and who you would like to continue to speak with. We also have the presentation slide deck here. So if you click on that, it goes directly to that rolling slide deck that we just presented. And it does have voice audio, so you can hear the presentation as well as see it. And that's a really fantastic tool for our visually impaired participants. At our station number 2, we do have our online survey. We have it in English on the left-hand side of the screen and Spanish on the right. I'm going to select the English version. It takes about 10 minutes to complete the survey. It is hosted through SurveyMonkey, so it goes through multiple choice as well as variable choice responses. And when you complete the survey, we aggregate those responses, and it helps us to be able to identify areas for improvement as well as areas where we feel like we don't need to prioritize investment because it's working very well. So your feedback is very important to our process. We also have our 2 links at the lower side of the table, an English fact sheet as well as a Spanish fact sheet. Again, it provides you with that snapshot of what a TDP is, how the process functions, a little bit of information about your current system and how it's operating, your schedule, as well as how you can get involved, and Gwendolyn McDaniel's contact information so that you can reach out to her if you have any specific questions or concerns. Our next station, again, is our large format schedule. So if you just wanted to see when things are happening, when you can expect to see results, that's the station for you. And our next station is looking at Albany Transit's route and operational analysis. And this is a really fantastic opportunity to see information about how healthy your system is, how it's doing. I'll give you a little spoiler alert. There's some information that you can see the impacts of COVID-19 on service and the number of trips being provided. So that's being accounted for. Without further ado, I'm going to let Vishanya Forbes walk you through the detailed information at this station and show you how you can interact with it and learn more. So I'm going to drop my screen, Vishanya, and I'm going to let you share yours and walk our participants through that exercise.
Thank you, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone able to see my screen? Awesome. So welcome to everyone participating on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, as well as on our Zoom platform. And as Rachel mentioned, in this room, you'll be provided with an overview of the existing Albany Transit system at route level detail and then the overall service level. And this platform allows you to navigate to different tabs or topics that are covered within this platform, so you don't necessarily have to go through all. If you're only interested in ridership data, you can navigate to the ridership data. If you want to see what we're doing in terms of propensity data, then you can just select propensity data and we'll take you exactly straight to that tab. So we'll start with the overall annual ridership trend that we observed during our initial analysis of the Albany Transit system. So from our initial analysis, we noticed that transit ridership is on the decline in Albany. And this graphic on the left shows you the comparison of fixed route ridership data from fiscal year 2018 through fiscal year 2020. And it indicates here that 2% or 12,629 less trips were reported in 2019 versus that was reported in 2018. And then the 25% decrease that we're seeing in ridership for the last fiscal year 2020, is as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that we started seeing that monthly ridership dipping in the month of February. And so as a result, we are now at an annual ridership of 545,000. And we did the same analysis that we did for the fixed route ridership for the demand response or paratransit riders. And so it shows that paratransit ridership was up at least 30% since fiscal year 2018. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic, it went down 16%. So we can see that comparison here in this graphic on the left. And then this graphic here indicates like what the peak months for ridership are within the Albany Transit system. And it says that ridership is at a peak within the months of August, September, and October. And then as well as how that contrasts with when schools are out of break or if it's a summer holiday, and then that decrease will be observed for us. So over the summer months like July and June, we'll see that decrease in ridership system-wide. And this section of this platform gives you like a statistics on each individual route. So for each of the route that Albany Transit provides this graphic, you're able to zoom to the area that is covered. So the service coverage for that route, it tells you what the annual ridership on each route was, and is ridership up or down on each of the specific routes. So for example, on Route 1, we can see that annual ridership is down 35%, and then what the actual documented ridership was in 2018, 19, as well as 20. Then you can navigate that through to Route 2, and then it will navigate to that service coverage. Again, it tells you that annual ridership is up 4%. The areas that are covered, so like this route services areas along Road Pecan Park and Oak Grove Estate, Mobile Home Park. Again, the annual ridership statistics, and then you can navigate through each of the routes, see if your community or your area where you work is covered with existing service that Albany Transit provides. So you can navigate through each of those different ones, as well as you can expand on the service map, and then it will show you where each stop is located along this route and where the route loops from. So it indicates on this map exactly the alignment of the route and where the stops are. So approximately how many stops are available on each route. And so we go through 9, 10, all the way to our university route. And then this map actually provides you with an overview of the service coverage area for Albany Transit System. So it shows you exactly a layout of Albany and where exactly routes are available. So if your neighborhood is not being serviced currently, then this would be a great opportunity for you to utilize our comment forms and make sure that you note that, and we can take that note and incorporate it into our analysis. And then this section talks about our transit propensity, as we mentioned earlier. So what transit propensity is and how we actually use that to inform our transit planning analysis that we do. So we use US Census data, and we take different, isolate different demographic characteristics, for example, minority population, low income, workers with disability, and then we aggregate that into a visual tool where we are able to see, okay, which area of Albany really needs to have transit, because we have these people who are most likely to ride transit and there's not a service available there. So we use that to inform our analysis process. And then, like I said earlier, you can navigate back to whichever section that is most interesting to you, or the data that you want to narrow in on. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me directly or to Gwendolyn, or just leave that comment and we'll make sure that it gets incorporated into our process. So I'll now turn it back over to Rachel to continue with our presentation. And thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you, Vishanya. So our next station in the room is manned by Justin. I'm going to let him take the reins and talk you through our interactive mapping system and tool, where you get to zoom in, provide feedback on individual bus stops. You can provide individual information on individual routes, or you can put a new stop in, tell us where you would like to see changes, or draw a new route. So it's a really exciting opportunity for you to not only tell us with your words what you would like to see, but actually pinpoint areas where you would like to see improvements for your system. So I'm going to let Justin show you how this tool functions and all the bells and whistles. And without further ado, let me stop my share, and Justin, you take over.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel and me. Okay. Are you all able to see my screen? Okay, so with the interactive bus stop and bus route map, it's pretty simple. You can leave comments on existing bus stops or bus routes that you feel like have issues, whether it's with service or with frequency. So for example, you can click on this bus route, it tells you the name of it, and you can select from a list of issues that you have or comments that you would like to explain in the comment box below that you have with this particular bus route. Or you can do the same thing for bus stops. So if you go back to issues, you can say issues with trip length, or with frequency or with existing infrastructure or traffic delays. For example, buses going down a certain street may always have traffic issues at certain times of the day. And you notice it because you take this bus route every day. And that's something I think that you can comment and leave for us, and we can follow up and address these issues with the development of the transit development plan. This video right here is just a quick interactive tutorial. So it shows you how to use the map, how to leave comments on bus routes and bus stops, and also how to create a new bus stop or a bus route where you would like to see service in the future. The second part of this just shows you what all of the buttons on the main map mean. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, your current location. If you want to search for a place by address, you can type in an address of a particular business or service that you frequent throughout your week. There's a legend as well as change the base map. If you're used to seeing the city of Albany not in an imagery view, but rather in a street view, you can change that. So that way it's easier for you to, okay, I know where I'm at now. I know where this bus stop is at. And you can leave comments that way. Also, there's buttons up here where you can share with people on Facebook or Twitter, or copy the link to share via email. That's important just to get the word out about this. And if there's other people that you know who have issues or would like to comment on the bus stops and bus routes, feel free to share with your friends, relatives, and coworkers. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel and stop my screen share, and she can finish the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Justin. I'm really excited about that interactive tool. I hope you all are too. It's a really fantastic new opportunity for everyone to really interact with the system in a more tangible and meaningful way, to really provide your feedback in a way that we're not interpreting your words, but rather you sharing what you would like to see in your community on a map. And so for our general comment station, we understand that perhaps you're not comfortable with a mapping tool where you're dropping stop pins or drawing a line. We understand that not everyone wants to take a survey, and sometimes you just want to write out your thoughts. Sometimes you just want to tell us something that's going really well with the system and you would hate to see it change, or there's something that you would really like to see happen for the system and you didn't see a viable opportunity in any of our interactive opportunities to share that thought. So we do have a hyperlink built into this opportunity. It goes to just a general comment form. So you can provide that information to us. You can share your information, your contact information, and then indicate to us whether or not you would like for us to call you back, either to provide you with a response to your question or to continue dialogue regarding an idea or an area of interest for the TDP process. So that I think is a very helpful tool for you all and for us as well. And we really want to provide you with every opportunity to provide feedback in a platform that's most comfortable for you. So whether that's talking to Gwendolyn, calling our team, letting us hear your feedback in person or over the phone rather, interacting with the online survey, interacting with the online comment forms, any opportunity you have or any ideas that you have about the system, we would love to hear. So that's all we have for this round. We are going to have one more round going before we close the public workshops down for the day. So we're going to take about a 5-minute break. And then we'll go back live. So thank you all on Facebook and YouTube for following us and joining us today. Please provide your comments either there, or you can click on the link and join us in our Zoom platform meeting and interact with us in person. So again, thank you so much from myself as well as our team. We're going to take just a brief break and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. All right, team. Are y'all ready for our last session? All right. So this is our last run through of the day. We thank you all for those who have joined us throughout the day today. We had a session earlier today from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and we've been here with you all since 4 o'clock this afternoon. It is drop-in format, so if you missed any of our run-throughs earlier in the day, this is your opportunity to hear a little bit more about the transit development plan that's ongoing in Albany for the Albany Transit System, to interact with us as a panel of your teammates. So we are the consultant team. My name is Rachel Hatcher. I am the project manager for Reynolds Smith & Hills RSNH. And with us today, we have Vashania Forbes, also with RSNH, Justin Damons, RSNH. We also have Gwendolyn McDaniel, the Albany Transit Project Manager. So she's a wealth of information and knowledge and here to keep us all in line. And then in the background, we have all of our IT folks that are helping us to broadcast this information to you today and to help provide meaningful opportunity for you during this COVID-19 social distancing time. So again, Rachel Hatcher, your project manager, I'm going to walk through a presentation slide deck about the TDP, provide you with a little bit more detailed information about your study as well as your system, and then give you a detailed breakdown about opportunities for participation and how you can engage with our process and share your thoughts with us. I do want to point out that we have a chat box, so while you're watching, if you want to drop your thoughts in there, ask any questions, we'll be monitoring and responding to those as we go through. We also thank you all on Facebook Live and YouTube Live for watching, for sharing, as well as for providing your feedback there as well. We'll be monitoring those platforms and providing responses here today. So what is a TDP? A transit development plan is a strategic planning document that defines public transit needs and solicits broad input. It involves substantial public participation, explores community goals with decision makers and stakeholders, defines alternative courses of action, and develops a systematic plan for and monitoring program. A TDP is a prerequisite for federal and state funding, which is a very important funding source for Albany Transit. It does include a financially constrained 5-year work program, and it includes a 10-year long-range improvement plan. Albany Transit last completed a TDP update in 2015. Your 2015 TDP includes system and service performance data, community, population, employment, and demographic data, funding projections for 5-year and 10-year plans, transit system service and policy recommendations, results of public and stakeholder engagement efforts, and implementation timelines and strategies. And the full 2015 report can be seen on the Albany Transit website at www.albanyga.gov. So this flowchart graphic provides an overview of the various elements of your TDP process. So project initiation began with a stakeholders advisory committee formation, as well as the development of a detailed project management plan and a public participation plan. Then we began data collection and assessment, which included service information, data about ridership, survey information from you all, providing your feedback, which is ongoing, and we are thankful for those who have already taken our online survey. Financial information, and your study area profile. Where are people living? Where are they working? Where are they traveling for services and goods? And is transit available to them? We also look at demand and determining where there's enough demand and enough concentration of people and destinations to make transit a viable and feasible option for transportation service. So we look for those service options, and those are used to develop organizational assessment and recommendations for the TDP. Those are formed into the TDP plan, which is then reviewed by you all as the public, as well as the stakeholders, your oversight agencies with the Federal Transit Administration and DOT, and then ultimately goes to your council for adoption through final reports and presentations. You can see the box around the study says stakeholder and public engagement, because that is ongoing throughout this process. There will be key opportunities for feedback, such as these public workshops and online forums, However, there will be ongoing opportunities for you to provide your thoughts, your dialogue, your information, and for, again, that final review process at the end of this TDP planning process. So the schedule began in June of 2020. We conducted data collection that has been concluded. We are in the evaluation and analysis as well as demand estimation element of the process that will move us into alternatives analysis, where we'll develop potential alternatives of how the system could look in the future to solve the problems that we've identified and to address some of the concerns that we're hearing from citizens, as well as to best utilize the resources for the community and provide the best service we can. We then will develop what is called the preferred alternative that has the best outcome for the community, and that is formed into the transit development plan that develops actionable steps as well as funding constraints to show that you can, in fact, implement those recommendations. Public and stakeholder engagement will be ongoing. You can see you're here with the green star in October. There will be another opportunity for feedback like this once those recommendations have been solidified. And then again, plan development is scheduled for adoption in February of 2021. So just a little bit about your transit system. Albany Transit is a department of the City of Albany. You currently operate 13 fixed bus routes, but you also operate paratransit service for eligible disabled passengers. You operate 6 days per week, which is Monday through Saturday, and you have a base fare of $1.70 with transfers. And a lot has changed with your system over the last 5 years. Since 2015, there's been a rebranding. So bus stop improvements were implemented as shown in these graphics, where you have investments in shelters as well as rebranded and informative bus stops. New compressed natural gas fueled vehicles, which is very fuel efficient, and a new CNG fueling station as well as maintenance facility. And a very important element, your ongoing design of the new transfer facility. So the TDP builds on other regional transportation planning that's been conducted, including the recently adopted DARTS, or Doherty Area Regional Transportation Study 2045 MTP. This is a long-range transportation plan that is multimodal, so it looks not only at vehicular traffic, but also bicycle, pedestrian, and transit modes. So there was a survey conducted and significant outreach as part of that process. And the graphic on the screen shows a survey question and the associated response. So the question was, if you rarely bike, walk, or use public transit, please choose all the reasons that apply. So this response on the far right is the representative responses for transit. The purple bar is the highest response rate, as indicated with the red arrow. And you can see that that is travel time. 41.67% of respondents felt that they wouldn't use transit regularly because it was taking too long to get from their origin to their destination. So this is an example of how your feedback helps to inform our process, because now we know we need to assess travel times for this system and see where there are opportunities for improvement to make faster travel times available to make transit a more reasonable opportunity for the traveling public. The TDP will use an informed planning approach and will explore areas for service expansion, service improvements for existing routes, bus stop improvement priorities, transit-oriented development, or TOD, which really looks at land use as well as opportunities for enhanced transit, such as bus rapid transit or BRT Light, to work hand in hand together to develop the densities needed for high-performing transit and to make the investments in transit that make those developments of housing and employment an opportunity and a reality. So they work hand in hand to change the function of how transit services population and change the function of where population lives to better use transit. So they work hand in hand to really change the environment to make transit a very viable transportation option. We'll look at technology and infrastructure investments, ADA paratransit service operations, and impacts of COVID-19 on service and funding. With reduced ridership comes reductions in ridership-related funding, and how that impacts our opportunities in the next 5 and 10 years to implement some of the modifications that may be needed for the system. And participation in this workshop will help us to expand on this list. So if there's something that you've seen in other communities or an area that you think would be very important for Albany Transit to assess, let us know, and we're happy to assess and determine whether or not that is appropriate for Albany Transit as part of this TDP. So how do you get involved? You attend public workshops, you talk with us and help us to understand what's going well and what perhaps needs to change about the system, and as much detail and granularity as you can provide. Provide that feedback to our team, help us to understand what your needs are so that we can incorporate them into our analysis. And please take the online survey. We've already had some responses coming in. We love to see that. We want to see more. The more responses we get, the more valid the response is for implementation into the TDP to help guide those decisions. Learn about the TDP process. There's information that's going to be available for the next month. You can always talk to any of our team members about what the TDP is intended to do, how we will accomplish that, and what the results of it will be, and how you can get engaged to help guide that process. And then share this information with others. Help them understand that a TDP is being conducted and how that impacts your future as existing or potential future riders of the transit system. And another tool to help you all provide that information back to us, we have developed an online digital virtual meeting platform where you can go into a meeting space that's all online, and you can go to various stations and interact with those and provide your feedback. So the first station is where you are now. You are being provided with presentation slides. When you get into the virtual meeting platform, which I will show you shortly, you'll see where that presentation stage stands. And then when you move counterclockwise into the station number 2, you'll see that you have the opportunity to respond to the online survey, both in English and in Spanish. And you can view a project fact sheet, again, both in English and in Spanish. There is a project schedule in large format. So if you just wanted to see more information that was presented in the slides about when things are happening, and you wanted to really dive into that and not have it change on you in the slide deck, that's the right station for you. System performance report information shows you the results of our data analysis that demonstrates how the system overall is currently performing and has been performing over the last several years. And it does break that down at the route level. So you can say, oh, Route 1 is my route. I ride that every day. How's it doing? How's it doing in comparison to Route 2 or 3? So you can click through that information and identify the health of the system and areas where perhaps we do need to see some changes. You can also engage with our interactive comment map. That tool is an excellent opportunity for you to not only see where stops and routes are geographically located, but then provide comment on existing infrastructure. Perhaps there's a stop that needs a shelter. You can click on that stop and provide that information. Perhaps you love the routing on one of the routes, but it's just not frequent enough to get you to your destination. You can provide that information, or you can provide a suggestion for a stop you would like to see by dropping it on the map. Or you can draw your own route, which we're really excited about. We'd love to see you get creative and tell us how your trip could be best serviced by drawing it right in there and telling us what stops would be most viable. The next is general information about the TDP and Miss Gwendolyn McDaniel station, where you can talk about goals and objectives of the system. And that's really a broader topic where you say, I think our system needs to expand further, or I think our system needs to get smaller and be faster. So those are more the conceptual ideas of how we need to utilize these various tools in our tool belt to solve a larger problem. Or move in a different direction as a service. And then our last station is a general comment form, where perhaps you didn't see an opportunity for you to provide the type of feedback that you're most comfortable providing. And that's just your open opportunity to share your thoughts with us. So I'm going to minimize my presentation slides, and we are going to be transported into our virtual meeting platform. So this, again, will be live for the next 30 days. So we'll close it on November 22nd. And as you saw in our layout diagram, you are here at the stage. This is station number 1. If you click on the blue icons over any of our presentation team avatars, you will see their photograph, their information, as well as a brief description of what you're going to experience at that individual station. This also gives you the opportunity to identify team members that you heard from today that you would like to speak to directly. So if you gave Gwendolyn McDaniel a phone call and you said, I really liked what Vashania Forbes had to say, I would love for her to call me back. This puts a face with that name so that you know who you want to reach out to and who you'd like to have a telephone call back from. If you click on the screen, it will take you back to the presentation slides that we just presented, and they do include audio voiceover for those with vision impairment. At station number 2, we have a computer screen where you have the English on the left and the Spanish on the right versions of the online survey. Again, it takes about 10 minutes to complete the survey. This is a really helpful and valuable, concise way for us to get your feedback on what areas of the system are doing well, where we really need to focus our efforts with our analysis, and where we really need to focus our funding for improvements. Again, that is available in English as well as in Spanish. You can also view the project fact sheet, where you get general information about the TDP, our process, some information about how the system is currently operating and performing, our planning TDP planning schedule, again, adoption February of 2021, and then just how you can get involved, just an overview of how you can gain more information and share your feedback, and Gwendolyn's contact information at the bottom so that you can reach out to her directly if you have more specific questions. Again, here's your schedule where perhaps you saw the presentation slides, you saw the information in the fact sheet, but you'd really just like to see it larger so that you can analyze when things are going to happen. And I am going to now turn the mic over to Vashania Forbes to let her walk you through the Albany Transit Route Operational Analysis platform. So Vashania, I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to let you take over.
Thank you, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today in our virtual public meeting. Those of you that are watching on Facebook Live, YouTube, or on our Zoom platform, welcome to the Operational Analysis Room for the Albany Transit System. So in this room, you'll be provided with an overview of the existing Albany Transit System at route level, as well as the overall performance of the system. And within this platform, you'll be able to navigate to the different topics that we're talking about. So if you want to go ahead and just click on the tab, if you're only interested in fixed route ridership statistics or transit propensity, you can use those tabs to navigate to the topic of interest for you. So we'll start with the overall annual ridership. So based on our initial analysis, we did observe that transit ridership is on the decline in Albany Transit. And this graphic on your left shows you the comparison for fixed route ridership between fiscal year 2018 and our last fiscal year 2020. And so it shows you the number of annual riders that the Albany Transit documented, and this is system-wide, so not by route, but the overall system. And it does show you that between the last fiscal year 2019 and fiscal year 2018, there is a 2% decrease, or 12,629 less folks were riding transit that year. And then the most recent decrease that we're seeing is a 25% decrease, which we did notice with the ridership from monthly ridership starting in February, that was a result of the COVID-19 global pandemic. And we performed the same analysis for paratransit or demand response ridership. And we can see the decrease in ridership between fiscal year 19 and 20. However, between fiscal year 18 and 19, there was a 30% increase in ridership. So we had approximately 5,864 more riders on the demand response system during fiscal year 2019. And again, that decrease that we're seeing now, that 16%, is as a result of the COVID-19 global pandemic. And then this graphic here shows us our peak month of ridership for Albany Transit. So in the months of August, September, and October, we can see where the agency is observing its highest ridership throughout the system. And then in contrast, the months of June, July, and December, they're less productive for Albany Transit. And this is our next section that shows us statistics on each fixed route ridership, and just like basic service coverage area for each route, and like what neighborhoods are served and what is the ridership looking like for the 3 fiscal years that we discussed, so fiscal year 2018 through 20. on Route 1, we are seeing like what was documented, and now we know that that route is down like 35% in terms of ridership. And you can navigate through this platform and look at the details for each route that you are interested in, or your particular route. My screen's probably frozen, but navigating through each of these routes will give you that overall statistics about the annual ridership and then what it was documented at for that year, as well as the areas that that route services. So that is available for each of the 13 Albany Transit route, as well as an overview of the existing service coverage areas. So this map shows you exactly where existing service is from within Albany. So Albany Transit is providing coverage in these different areas. And so this map helps you to visualize where exactly transit service is at the moment. This next section of our platform talks about transit propensity. And as Rachel was discussing earlier, like this analysis indicates like where are people who live in Albany most likely to ride transit. So we take US Census data and we isolate those various demographic groups, and we visualize it on a map to say, okay, if we don't have a route available in an area where more people are likely to ride transit, then we need to get a route there. And so this map shows you like where the highest propensity of ridership would be versus where people are not as likely to ride transit. And so this gives you like detailed breakdown of how the analysis is conducted and what the information actually tells us. And again, you can navigate back to your area of interest if you want to spend a little bit more time, viewing this statistics for fixed route versus the overall annual ridership trends. Then you can use those tabs to navigate towards that information. And feel free to leave a comment with Gwendolyn or in that general comment box or on your survey, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you and speak one-on-one with you if you have, real questions that you want us to talk to you more about in depth. So I'll turn this over to Rachel and she will guide you throughout the rest of this presentation. And thank you guys for participating.
Can you all see my screen? All right. So now we're moving over to our interactive mapping exercise. I'm going to click on and show you just a couple of features and then turn the mic over to Justin to walk you through the details on how you can provide your specific comments, as well as draw your routes, drop stations in, and really help us to see and interact with your feedback in a way that helps us to visualize it as part of the system and see if it's appropriate to incorporate. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Justin, if you'll take the lead and show everyone this really awesome interactive tool.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. So with these interactive bus stop and bus route map, can everyone see my screen? Okay, so there has multiple features. You can comment on existing bus stops just by clicking on the bus stop and clicking this blue comment box, leaving your feedback, leaving questions you may have or other concerns that you have with particular bus stops or bus routes. The bus stop you take every day may be somewhere where it has no connecting sidewalk. It may not have light features, so you can say issues with safety and security. If you're taking the bus at 5, 6 in the morning, you would like for there to be a traffic light or a light to illuminate you and show the bus driver that there's a person at that particular stop. If you click on the bus stops layer, you can also add in a particular bus stop. If you feel like there's a missing spot or a gray area for an additional bus stop or bus route, it's just as simple as clicking a point on the map. It leaves an address and you can comment and leave why you want this new bus stop or bus route, especially during this TDP process, we're looking at trying to expand the system and also correct issues that riders may have with the existing services. The second part of this interactive map just shows what each of the icons on their home map is, whether it's zoom in, the home view, zoom out. You can search for a place by address if you're not sure where it is located, but you do know the address. You can also change the base map if you're used to seeing a map look a little differently than with image view. You can change it to OpenStreetMap so you can see by streets the same way you would if you used Apple Maps or Google Maps. In addition, there's also an interactive map tutorial that kind of briefly walks you through the steps I just showed you on how to use this interactive map. There are 3 symbols at the top where you can share this interactive tool with friends, family, coworkers, people who use Albany Transit and would like to be interested in improving the service and providing feedback to your ATS team. We are reading comments on Facebook and YouTube as well as in the Zoom chat. So if you would like to leave a comment or a question, just leave it in the chat box and someone will be sure to get right back with you. I'm going to hand the rest of this presentation over to Rachel. Thank you all for listening and thank you all for participating in today's interactive workshop.
Thank you, Justin. We're all really excited about all of our virtual interactive comment opportunities. We hope you all will be as well. So our last 2 stations includes additional information about the TDP, and this is Gwendolyn McDaniel's station. She, again, is a wealth of information and knowledge. We hope that you'll reach out to her and provide her with any feedback that you have that you felt like you really didn't see an opportunity for in our virtual meeting platforms or didn't have a chance to join us live in our meetings today. And then we've also provided you with an English as well as a Spanish opportunity to write your feedback. So if you don't feel comfortable taking the survey, you don't feel comfortable using our interactive mapping exercise, or you don't feel comfortable reaching out to Gwendolyn, please provide your feedback here. This gives you just an open dialogue box to be able to share your thoughts with us, whether that's an area of the system that you think is performing very well, or an area of the system that you think could be doing better. And then you can also provide us with your contact information and indicate whether or not you would like for a member of our team to reach back out to you. If there's an individual member of our team that you would like to speak to directly, please put that in your comment box. We'll do our best to accommodate that. And we hope to hear from you. So without any further ado, that is our presentation for today. That's our 3rd round and our last round for today. Again, we thank you all for participating. For those of you on Facebook and YouTube Live, thank you for dialing in. We appreciate you. Please share this. Click on the link to go into our virtual meeting platform and be able to interact with these tools that we've provided to you. We're so grateful for our IT team. They have been fabulous helping us to get this information out in this COVID-19 distancing environment. And we're excited to hear from you. So please take the survey. Please interact with our virtual maps and reach out to our team members. We always love to talk transit. So thank you very much. We're going to stay on the line for the next 10 minutes in case anybody comes online late, wants to provide any feedback or speak with us. And if we don't hear from you now, we hope that you'll engage with us through our virtual meeting platforms and participate in our next workshop. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Rachel, we do have a feedback on Facebook. Great. And they're wondering if this could be mailed out to citizens.